Okay, so welcome to Taking Liberation Online, Lessons Learned from a Year of Blue Light Academy. We're going to start with just a little quick grounding. People can't see each other fully because we're sharing screen, but we're going to do a little quick thing that we do in Spring Up, which is like a stretching train. So I'm going to start, and if someone else then wants to just unmute themselves, is that possible on this? Just unmute yourself and then just share a stretch. And then someone else can also share a stretch, and you can just mirror whatever stretch feels good. So I can start just moving my neck from side to side, so you can join me if you want. And if someone else wants to unmute and just share a stretch, then we can all join in together. Maybe one more stretch from someone else. Feel free to just unmute.
I'm a fan of.
Yes. Bring your arms all the way up. Ooh, that's so good. It opens up the chest. That's really great. Oh, thank you, Mark. Okay. Thank you. So we're gonna do quick intros. My name is Sevine. I use they, Sev pronouns, and I'm a teaching artist in residence and a coach at Spring Up.
And my name is RJ, he, him pronouns, calling from Durham, North Carolina, or Eno land. And I also work on the Blue Light Academy over the summer.
So we have our Zoom norms for the space. This is something that we like to use in our facilitation and also just our team meetings too. So if you want us to speak slower, you can do it like this. And just for slowing down, I tend to speak fast, so just let me know if I speak too fast. Then RJ, do you want to model some of the shorthand in the chat real quick? So if I'm saying something and you're resonating really hard, you can do the little plus signs in the chat like that. If you want to speak, you can put a little asterisk in the chat. And if you agree with something that's said in the chat, you can put little hats in the chat. And then RJ, do you want to share the other Zoom norms?
Yeah. And so we talked about slow down. If we need to be louder, we ask people to do this with their hands. And a big reason for doing this, right, is it's really hard online to follow the chat and everything. So it's helpful to actually see the movement. If we start using jargon you don't understand, then you can do the jargon giraffe. Some people may know something like the silent coyote. And then also if there's an internet problem, just kind of put your hand out to stop, slow down, something's going on. You gotta be careful with this one though. Yesterday I was adjusting my screen and then I think people thought that I was telling about internet connection issues. But the reason why, again, we do these norms is really to kind of encourage different types of interaction and different types of engagement in the space. And so, Sev, could you go to the next slide, please?
Totally. And also one last thing, just please use the space, however, that you are in, however you need or prefer. So you can move around, you can rock, you can flap, you can turn your screen off if that feels good. Just, yeah, use the space however it feels good to you.
Great, thank you. So what does school teach us? Right, we just kind of wanted to start with this question. So in this case, I would just give 30 seconds. Just feel free to throw in the chat, or if someone feels brave enough to come off mute, but just what does school teach us? All right, Brooklyn, compliance, obedience, make money. I thought maybe we got one Pythagorean theorem, but I competition, how to be a capitalist. Okay, so you all already know, a lot of these ideas about how we kind of move through the world and just what we embody, right, are kind of instilled in us starting in schools. So Seb, could you go to the next slide? Thank you for reading the Pythagorean theorem. My math-loving self loves that. But we get a lot of carceral logics from our early schooling, right? And so it's a lot of points that you already hit on, right? Just assuming dependence and incompetence. It's more about control and management. It's about preparing you for the workforce as opposed to actually working towards liberation, right? Or learning just how to be in community together. About ownership and appropriation of labor, about products, and about bodies. And so specifically, some of the ways you can kind of see that coming out are going to be on the next slide. And so let me just make it a little larger so I can really read it. But yes, so examples of dominant learning spaces. And I think it's important to spend some time here because what we're doing with Blue Light Academy, which is like the online platform through which we host our classes at Spring Up, is we're trying to directly respond to just a lot of the lessons that have been ingrained with us, like the hidden curriculum that happens within schools. So we're thinking about, okay, well, how can we argue against assimilation? How can we get people to understand that like perfectionism is not the way that we want to go, right? It's not about raising your hand, feeling nervous, reflecting on myself, do I have the right answer? But how can we kind of create like different ways of being? How can we get away from paternalism, from saviorism? How can we really encourage people to understand that it's not about what the teacher or the facilitator or me right now, whatever I'm saying, but it's just as important as what is the knowledge in the community that we're generating in the chat and in the group right now? How can we get away from a fear of open conflict? How can we get away from saying that there's only one right answer, that objectivity is seen as superior? And then also, how can we just really make space for the different ways that people have to show up? I can't remember who it was in the very beginning, but we talked about, right, like you may have a kid right now, you may have animals around you. There may be someone chainsawing a tree right next to you, like while you're trying to facilitate. And so just thinking about how can we make space the different ways that we show up, and just knowing that that's okay. And that's actually what we're working towards. And so these are some of like the problems or some of the challenges that we're trying to like think about, trying to like solve for. So I'm going to pass it out to Sebs and kind of talk through some of the ways that we do that at Blue Light Academy.
So why would being an abolitionist org make you have better online engagement? And so the way that we've like just structured our pedagogy and also the way that we've structured Blue Light Online Academy is rooted in like, what does anti-carceral education and pedagogy look like? And how can we allow people to have a space where they can feel as free as possible? So we have a harm response system. So people can report harm that's like happening either like through the Zoom or through the online platform, and respond to harm in a way that really also centers transformative justice. So people can feel safe, but also it's kind of modeling and practicing how to have communities of accountability and care that don't rely on institutions like the carceral system. And then we also have access for a year. So this is kind of really prioritizing and centering people who like learn at different paces. And so you're able to kind of, learn at your own pace and do whatever feels good to you. So we have like a 6-week like live kind of space where we have like office hours once a week, and people can kind of talk and like share in that space, but everything else is kind of asynchronous. But that's still like a 6-week kind of space where we're live. And then after that, it's like on your own and you can learn however you want. And then also there's a priority in terms of slowing down. So it's really just like asking, like, it's like less is more. So the material is really like distilled into theories and just questions. And then there's like art, and there's all these different multimedia things that are there. So you can kind of choose also what feels good to you in your learning, but also kind of prioritizing, like, you can just sit with one question for like 8 weeks, and that's just enough. If that's what you've determined for you to be your learning for that space, like that is what's important. That's what's great. We also prioritize like community. So we have buddy systems. And so you sign up to a course like with another person, and that person is like your buddy for like the semester or however long you're going to be engaging in this course together. So you're able to like, we encourage you to like ask questions and like go through the prompts together. It's really fun. So people have like brought in their parents with them, which is like amazing. We have a consent and gender and power course, and someone brought in their parent, and you're like, you're talking about consent with your parent. Like, that's so amazing. And so you're spending like 6 weeks just like engaging, and it's probably some really intense conversations, but like that's where like the changing and the integration is happening. We also have whole cohorts sign up together. So it's like 10 people from the same org, the same movement org, the same like just business, like working together. So in a way, it's like you're able to learn the same things, develop like shared language, and like process things together, and then also bring that also to your own space. And then we also have self-guided learning. So that's important too in terms of just like being able to like center neurodivergent folks. We have a porous classroom, which we also do with, that goes alongside the buddy system of like, how can your life come into the classroom, and how can the classroom go into your life, and how can we have that be porous? And then, emphasis on conversations with yourself and with your community. So kind of what RJ was talking about before, like an emphasis on like, what does it look like to be in right relationship versus being just right? So it's not about like a right or wrong statement. It's about like empathy. It's about storytelling. let me move my little face
And
here.
Sev, while you're doing that, just to add, Mark, I heard a connection to what you were sharing before, right? Just in terms of the focus on conversations in the communities, right? Like the power and the experience and the knowledge comes from us being together and from the shared experience. And so, yeah, Sev, just like I really like to kind of hammer in the connection between the two comments.
Yeah, totally. And then also I wanna uplift what you said, RJ, in the chat in terms of like, we start the class by sharing that it's not about if harm will happen, but rather it's when. And we use the harm response system as a way to elevate, the way we respond to harm as a community. So we're like planning for harm to happen in the space so then we can respond to it in a way that is generative. And so, other things that for us help us build like learning liberatory spaces are embracing difference and generative conflict. So that's part of the like harm will happen. How do we embrace that conflict and how we like lean into it? Storytelling. So it's, speaking from so speaking from your own life and being specific and being like context specific too. Mistakes are teachers and normal. Differentiation and multiple equivalent options. And so, like we have podcasts, we have music, we have somatic videos, we have like text, we have, what else do we have? So many things. And it's like all the different things and you can learn all these different ways. And we focus on values and relationships and personal goals over rules and directions. And so at the beginning of the course, we asked like, what does success look like for you? And what can you do to meet that goal for yourself? And then we have like this like pretty much like choose your own adventure thing. So people have their own like success goals and they just kind of get to pick and choose and like go through this thing with their buddies and figure out what feels good to them. And then we also have coaches too alongside that can help you integrate these things too. Then we have somatics and play. We just embrace like different language and different like cultural ways of like going through language and like talking about things too. And so it's pretty much just like what is your story? Like what narratives are you looking to change? And what resources and what platforms can we provide that can help you like, shift and change those things for yourself? RJ, is there anything else you'd want to add?
The only thing I would say is just to kind of double down on the self-determination. For me, it was and continues to be really difficult at times to transition away from like traditional education and having like set learning objectives for everybody, right? And it really just requires a level of trust and belief in your community for them to really set like their own learning objectives and determine how to move forward. And then I saw, I think either Carolina or Carolina, how do you nurture these when a student has ingrained colonial and neoclassical perspectives? So I think, that's a really good question, right? I think that's something that we face a lot. And so I think it kind of goes, in some ways, it kind of touches on some of the self-determination, right? Like we're talking about there's going to be harm because we know that we're all raised in the society and we have these systemic ideas ingrained in us. And so we don't expect everyone to have like, quote unquote, well, there is no right answer, right? But we also know that people are going to respond based on their previous experiences and their previous knowledge. And so that may lead to then some conflicts. It may lead to Seb saying something that actually creates a response within me. And so that's why then we have the focus on somatics, why we have the coaching that goes alongside of it. Because again, it's not trying to, what I learned growing up was like, let's just avoid talking about that and it'll make it go away. It's instead like being ready and prepared for when it does happen. So then we can support the community as we move through it.
This is a student reflection that I thought really spoke well to the kind of just like the experience of what it could be like to go through this. And so at the end of the course, we have like, it's not mandatory. You can just submit a reflection if you want, and it can be whatever you want. It can be like a dance video. It can be a poem. It can be like a zine. It can be whatever. And this quote, I have to move my, you have all the different things on the screen. I can't fully read them. But so the container and culture this course sat in was just as impactful as the course content. Grounding exercises to prepare your body for the content, expectation setting before the first week, emphasis on re-emphasis that completing content is not a requirement nor a prerequisite to attend office hours, poems, music, creative writing as learning content, community composed of organizers who can empathize with each other. So I remember reading that being like, oh, like, yeah, damn, like that is like, that feels like really kind of encapsulated what it feels like to be in that space. I was a teaching artist for 2 courses in the summer and the fall. And I feel like for me also, like that's just also what I feel in this space too. It's not just, I don't feel like it's just participants. It's like, I felt like that. I feel like I'm engaging with the comments, I'm learning, I'm asking questions, I'm figuring this out. And I feel like for me, like that was also one of like a beautiful thing for me, of feeling like it really just is about like your own relationship to what's happening and to the resources and to the work. So yeah. And then, yeah, I guess what is next, RJ, if you want to.
Yeah, so we can just kind of close out with just a few plugs. So one of the things we do in terms of also differentiation is just different ways to engage. This summer, we're going to launch our first liberatory education course. That's going to be over the summer. So if you're interested, let me just put it in the chat. You can see the link there, though, at our Blue Light Academy. We also have a workbook for all of our courses, whether it's transformative justice, consent, gender, power, liberatory education. We have a course and we have an accompanying workbook. We also have a Patreon community. And so that's if people are more interested in just continuing community outside of the formal spaces, coaching. And so if anyone's a Patreon at above $5 per month, they receive the liberatory education workbook. Our social media is here. And then upcoming events, we're having a few retreats. I'm just going to find them. A few retreats coming up about liberatory facilitation, which is going to be in 2 weeks. So that'll be March, I think, 11th and 12th. And then also one for harm systems design on March 25th and March 26th. So if you're interested, please feel free to ask some questions at the end of this space. And yeah, Linnea, I'm not sure, but has been dropping some helpful links in the chat.
Yeah, thanks so much. And we'd love to just close our time with just a one word check-in. If people just want to type in the chat or unmute yourself, just like how you're feeling. Yeah, any just one word check-in. I don't know about y'all, but I'm feeling energized. Excited and hopeful, relieved, bouncy, love that. Curious, thankful. Thank you all for being here.